We're here at Bluffton High School with Ryan Feeback, who is, and correct me if I get any of these details wrong, 2001 high school graduate. He is currently, and in general terms, he's a diplomat for Nigeria. He's been there since August. He's back for a month long, is that correct? Basically, I don't want to call it a vacation per se, but...
It is, yeah, rest and relaxation.
There you go, rest and relaxation, and as part of the Hometown Diplomat program, correct?
Correct.
He spoke to his alma mater this morning, and just, if you could summarize, one of the things you want to emphasize is that diplomacy, is maybe not what Hollywood or the general conception of it always is. And you mentioned 5 cones, you called them in particular. I want you to quickly summarize those cones and get in a little more detail about your specific duties.
Sure, well, I mean, that's a great point, yeah. We are kind of trying to dispel the myth that diplomats are sitting around sipping tea and eating cookies in nice little doily rooms, but the reality is that I would say we do hard work in tough places. And so my particular cone that I'm working in is consular work. We do visa interviews to adjudicate visas and ensure that people who are coming to the United States are coming correctly and in accordance with immigration law.
Right.
We also take care of American citizens overseas. We'll provide a range of services from checking on you if you're in the hospital, to helping a loved one's remains return home if they happen to pass away while overseas. We can repatriate people in emergencies. We also handle evacuations if there's a crisis in the country, which is happening more and more, unfortunately, recently. We're always at the point of that. There are 4 other cones: management, public diplomacy, economic, and political, each with their own experts and specializations. So our management folks do exactly what you would think. They manage the embassy, HR, things like that. Our public diplomacy people are the face of the embassy to the public, typically, and in conjunction with the consular officers. They'll do our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram. They'll handle a lot of our public speaking engagements for us, organize things like this program here, the Hometown Diplomats program. Economic folks help to facilitate trade. They help support over 20 million American jobs overseas, and our political folks are the ones who often work very hard to negotiate treaties, support human rights, and do a lot of reporting on situations in the country.
Okay, excellent. One question that they had a Q&A session, or Q&A session, one question I was kind of curious about: what kind of language skills do you need?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, my wife, I can speak Japanese with my wife, but according to the State Department, I'm not really even close to proficient. So, but that was a product of Bluffton High School, actually. Okay. So I learned Japanese here. And what will typically happen, Nigeria, for example, is an English-speaking country. Okay. They were a British colony before, and so English is the major language there. Okay. However, it's a great question you're asking, because typically for many posts you have to have what's considered working proficiency. Okay. They rated it a 3 out of 5 on the scale that they've got. And for my next post, which may be, say, a Spanish-speaking country, because I don't speak Spanish, the department will actually train me in Washington for like 6 months. Full-time in learning Spanish before I go to post. Okay. We are the only country that I'm aware of in the world that actually puts this amount of training into our diplomats, but we ensure that we can speak the language of our diplomats who are going to go live in a foreign country.
Now, quickly, and you mentioned this during the speech, talk about the importance of representing America. That was something you highlighted, and particularly saying, I believe, you might be the only American people in Nigeria or whichever country you're in may ever see.
That's absolutely true. One thing we have to work very hard, particularly on the visa line with, is customer service. If anybody's ever worked a cash register or anything like that before, you realize you can have days where you get that customer who's just not, you know, and you have to be extremely conscientious of that as a diplomat. That you may be in a negotiation even with high-level leaders who are being rude or insulting towards the U.S., to put it bluntly. But you need to remember that you represent us and that we want to always be at our best. That's in and out of work. At the visa line, it can be very difficult to refuse someone a visa, but to do it in a polite way, even if they're not being polite back to you, is the most important thing you do, because all eyes, I guarantee you, in that waiting room are always watching us when we're at work.
And finally, and I realize this is kind of speculative, you started in August, you have a 2-year term, correct? Correct. Any thoughts as where you'd like to go afterward?
Yeah, we'll go wherever we're told. But we do get to bid and give preference, and we're hoping I can take another consular assignment, maybe somewhere in South America. Okay. I would love to pick up Spanish. And then maybe someday when the kids are older, Japan.
Oh, excellent. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for coming back, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.